niachane. Unasikia wewe? Unikome na mbele mume wako. Wakera. Ndio. Nikome tena mkome kabisa.
On the next episode.
Uzuiaji maambukizi ya virusi vya HIV kutoka kwa mama hadi mtoto ni miongoni mwa hatua ambazo serikali imechukua katika vita dhidi ya ukimwi hapa nchini. Je, ni yapi ambayo serikali imetekeleza kuafikia ufanisi huo?
Mpango wa Linda Mama umesaidia sana. Sasa hivi wanajua chenye tu unahitaji ni your identity card. So wakija na ile card wanajisajili bila malipo yoyote.
Tumeona wamama wengi wakikuja kupata watoto kwa hospitali.
Kitu yenye ilitupea moyo, tukaambiwa sasa na mtapata mtoto. Mkifuata haya maagizo, mtapata mtoto mwenye ako negative.
The 9th day of December 2020 it is. Good morning and welcome to Channel 1 News Check. And today we will be looking at issues water. You will bear me witness since the first coronavirus case was reported, and of course it was known that if you keep clean, that is if you wash your hands with running water and water, plenty of water, you will also be able to kill the virus or even avoid contracting the dreaded virus. So water has been the key ingredient in the fight against COVID-19, and that is what we will be looking at, water utilization in the midst of 2020 coronavirus pandemic. My name is Ben Troy Njue. Lucy Mwaura will be a sign language interpreter for this morning. But before we delve into water issues, let's first have a look at the reporter's diary. According to the United Nations, Kenya is a water-scarce country, and you will bear me witness by the number of boreholes that have been drilled in the country, and especially in urban centers like Nairobi. Of course, we have a huge water shortage in the capital. But the onset of coronavirus also brought another challenge. Of course, you have to keep clean by washing your hands with water and soap. Now, that brings also a big challenge. Kenya is already a water-scarce country. So how do we utilize the water well? Remember, in January, the phased reopening, now it will be full reopening of schools. What are we going to do? The public schools, are they ready with the sufficient water and sanitation that is required to also fight this coronavirus pandemic? And joining me in studio is Professor Patrick Hayombe, who is the CEO of Kenya Water Institute. Professor, welcome.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Professor Patrick Hayombe. As mentioned, you have just mentioned, this Chief Executive Officer and Director of Kenya Water Institute.
Kindly tell us something small about the Kenya Water Institute.
Kenya Water Institute is a public institution with that parliamentary statute 2001, Kenya Water Institute Act. Kenya Water Institute Act 11, 2001, and has a responsibility mandate given to do training, research, consultancy, and outreach. Kenya Water Institute was established as an organization, has some history. From 1961, the government has felt that there's need to train people in water-related matters. So the institute was started around 1961 as one of the departments under Public Works. And that continued for a long time. Then it was called Water Staff Training Institute up to 1985, when it was given another mandate and now transferred to Minister of Water and Development to also handle research. And that led to them having a new act, as the 2001, that made it a semi-autonomous organization. So it is a saga as in the government structure. So with that mandate to offer training, research, consultancy, and also mainly transfer of knowledge and technology to the public. Yeah, then in 2001 up to now, KV has grown into a major institution that deals with the major issues in water and also training in water sector. And if you still allow me to speak, KV is striving to be a center of excellence in training and research and technology transfer in the region. And just to briefly, that's what KV is all about. But if you allow me, I'll
what are some of the courses that are offered at the Kenya Water Institute?
Yes. As being Kenya Water Institute is a technical, what we call a technical a training institute registered by TVET. That's it. TVET is a technical vocational training authority that registered technical institute. So KV is registered by TVET, and KV is also registered as a research institution by National Council for Science and Technology. We call it NACOST. So it does those three functions, and it has those mandates. But now the KV offers diploma courses. One diploma in water engineering, diploma in water resource technology, diploma in water laboratory technology, diploma in information technology, but now we are changing it to water information system. KV also offers certificate courses in water engineering, certificate course in water resource technology, in water technology and management, certificate course in wastewater laboratory and technology, certificate course in information and communication technology, certificate course in irrigation and drainage. KV also offers artisan courses. These are for those who want to. We have a water supply operator course, meter reading course, sewerage operator course, and then there are also other short courses that we call them meter reading, non-revenue water. I'll be talking about non-revenue water in the process. We also offer other courses like water governance for people who manage water sectors and companies. So we offer a number of short courses, and these are 2 to 5 days. But the diploma courses are 3 years. It's a 3-year course where you need to get a C- and also a passed in science courses. The certificate courses are D+. You get a D+, and you use also a 2-year course. Then we have the other courses, I'll call operator course, are 1-year courses. So you can do that 1-year course, then you upgrade to the certificate, then to diploma. And you can also start with a technician course. Plumbing and pipe fitting is also a key course that we offer. We are now also in big, broad thinking that we'll be offering experiential knowledge courses where we offer those who do not have standard A certificate, but they can have some experiential knowledge that we can come and package them and give them a certificate, what we call experiential certificate in piping and pipe fitting, so that if you are a plumber, you have a certificate. So some kind of certification. I think that's broadly what we offer, but if we leave the courses, we also do research.
Yes.
And we do research in all areas. One area, like I've just mentioned, water engineering, all technology-related research. We do research in water resource management. That's the resource management where water is divided in 2 areas. From the catchment, this is the resource aspect of water. So upstream, downstream, then the water is tapped to now be distributed. Now we call that area is being tapped to be distributed for household use, for irrigation use. We call it now water engineering. So that's also, we also do research. But
And
we
you
also,
have that the research
yes, we have
laboratories are still within the institute.
I wasn't talking about that.
Yes.
Then we also have the irrigation and the drainage, which is another a big branch, because you know, we're talking about food security. So that when we talk of the big four agenda and food security, and what is an enabler, if you ask me about later on that, I'll talk about that. Then we do consultancies, several consultants. One is hydrological survey. If somebody wants to do hydrogeological survey and wants to do a borehole, before that is done, we do hydrogeological survey. We also do drilling. We have drilling machines that can drill for anybody, a company or an organization, or even an institution. Even like I've seen you, there's some drilling.
So basically, it's everything
water, and with now we have all the labs, so water quality lab, hydraulic labs, or water workshops that deal with the piping. We have water platforms. So any type of lab you can talk of that deals with water in this country, you'll find it in Kenya Water Institute.
And how many colleges do you have?
Yes, we have currently we have 4 colleges. The main one is the one in South Sea, Nairobi main campus. That's what that started. Then some time way back around 2010, 2009, we started going out, and we started with the land in Tharaka Nithi. So we went deep in part of eastern part of the region. Tharaka Nithi is called Chakariga campus. The ministry used to have water seeder project. Then there was land there and some building. So K was given to start a school. Then we have a campus in Kitui, just not far from Kitui, just within Kitui town. We have a campus, and it offers the same courses. We now also have a campus in Kisumu. Kisumu towards in Kisumu city, there's a campus. So we are 4 campuses. But then the government is now thinking to have a campus in every county. That's the future.
Okay. You are a water expert.
Yes.
Would you say, since the coronavirus pandemic started, have we utilized water well?
Yeah, I would say that, of course, when it was said that you have to wash your hands,
yes,
the other part of water that's not been utilized well is that we wash our hands and then we don't recycle the water. So in most countries, water is, if you wash your hand, if you use it, it's recycled again.
Yes.
Of course, that's not lost. We've not lost anything, because it goes back to the environment to join the environmental system. But I think that kind of washing hands, we are using a lot of water. And I think using water well, it might not really be the concept, but have we had water to use? Yeah, the village I would see now every woman has put some jerry can.
Yes.
They're washing their hands.
Yes.
Yes. So if you are in Kajiado or Garissa or somewhere very far where water is still, you have to walk 1 kilometer or 5 kilometers to reach a water point, then you may know what it means.
Yes.
That's just in the rural areas. And if you are in an urban center and you're staying in Kibera or Korokocha somewhere where you have to buy water with a jerry can and 20 shillings, a 20-liter jerry can has 20 shillings, then you know what it means, that what you need to use that water. You are buying it, then you're using it for washing your hand almost every second.
Yes.
You go to the toilet, you are from the market, and everybody must now wash their hands. Of course, it was not a culture. The good thing that the COVID has done is that the washing hand culture has also brought in some sanity in terms of hygiene. And I think there's a lot of, I talked to some doctors who said that there's some reduction in some other common diseases.
Yes.
The mere fact that we are now washing our hands, we are now sanitizing. So using water well but we have used it well to help curb. I was with some German friends who are related with us in a project called BWAC, Bavarian Institution of Water Association. There are professionals who are helping Kenya Water Institute to help to train. They're saying that what they realize that in Kenya we are a bit cautious, and we are trying to, and this way we do not have a lot of not many people have been affected compared to Europe and other countries, because here people are adhering to those rules. They are washing their hands. They are also putting on masks, like I came with mine, and because you are not putting yours, I decided to also put it aside.
Yes.
So the issue is, do we have water to use, not necessarily what are we using water well.
We've talked about recycling water.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we cannot recycle this water that we have washed our hands with. That also poses a bigger challenge, and we have water shortage in the country.
Yes, we're using a lot of water to wash our hands, but we are not able to recycle this water, to reuse it in our systems, the infrastructure we have developed. Even in many institutions, people are washing their hands and that water runs off. Places like Singapore, every water that you use is recycled back to the system. If it rains, it's recycled back to the system. There are bigger industries, what they call the nanotechnology, the technology that can clean this water again for use. So those kind of technologies we've not really developed. So and that's now the wastage we're talking about. We have pit latrines. There's water there. We have our so-called the normal sewer system. We have water there, but it all runs to again go and pollute the water that we want to preserve. So we find most of the sewer systems, and the water runs again to join the natural environment and cause more pollution. But so in sanitation, let me talk about percentage. Kenya is supposed to, we are at 56 to 60% access water, that is per household, in terms of what somebody would require. And sanitation, we are at 26%. So we have not developed a proper infrastructure for sanitation to recycle water, to contain this water so that we can, it's just a natural environment, you can recycle the same water and use. And they are doing it in those countries. Reverse, the technology is called reverse osmosis. They reverse all the water again and they use it in their system. And the water is again sold in the supermarket, water from the toilet. So we need to move to that extent. So there we really need to, as we talk about washing our hands, we also need to say, can we save this water?
Yes, actually that was supposed to be my next question.
Yes.
Kenya, as you've said, right to put it, 54%, it's still quite low as compared to other countries. And in the coronavirus pandemic, we are also using more water than we should use in a normal life, right?
Yes.
But Kenya has been ranked as one of the countries that wastes a lot of water in terms of when you're washing your hands just on a normal day, when perhaps you're brushing your teeth, you find people just leave the water running. How can we conserve this, and how can we change this narrative?
Yes, so the narrative must change, that we must tell everybody that water is a scarce resource. And as they say that water is life, and 80% of our human body is water.
Yes.
So if you just lack 5% of that, then you see you are dehydrated, you are taking rush to the hospital. So water is very key. So we need to tell the people and everybody back there that they need to conserve water. They need to develop even small systems, small technologies. And this is a part of the training that we do, small technology that can recycle this water, can conserve this water. And even the types of structures, taps that we have, sensor taps that can also reduce the water use. So I remember some time in Cape Town when there was drought in Cape Town, and that's a country with a lot of water and a lot of infrastructure. It was mandatory. It was written everywhere that this is amount you have to use per day. So if you use beyond that, then you'll be charged. So each person was allocated amount per day. So they went to that. Even in a hotel, you enter a room, you're told this is the amount of water you can flush and use. So you're given all those options of flushing. So those kind of going to that level, we've not reached that, but we need to sensitize people that water is life, water is key. If there's no rain, we don't have food. If there's no water, people are not healthy. If there's no water, industries cannot run. and many others. And that's what the government has said, that it's not part of the big four, but it's a key enabler.
Yes.
A key enabler. So that believe that what is a key enabler to the industries, to manufacturing, to housing, to agriculture, to drive the food sector, and that if whatever water we conserve in whatever format is useful for another person to use the next day. So sustainable use of water resources and also water that we already develop is very key for tomorrow, today, and even the future.
And in January, there's a full reopening of schools, and most public schools did not have water even before the COVID-19. And of course, the ministry came in and talked about they gave out some guidelines for the phased reopening. Now we are going to a full reopening, and we have a water shortage in Kenya. How do we strike the balance, putting in mind, bearing in mind that we also have the sanitizers, which of course are quite expensive, if you ask me?
Yes, let me start from, it's a fact that Kenya is a water scarce country, and if you are considered to be you have water, then you should be having 1,000, of course they said 1,000 kilometers per year per person. But in fact, the water at one time it was 625, now we have gone to 425 cubic meters. That if you allocate, that in terms of population, you allocate water that we conserve, that we have per person, you find we are at 425 or 30, so we are less by almost 600. So already that is a red flag that we don't have water. And in the face of climate change, which is a major factor to water as a resource, again we have problems. In the face of the increasing population daily, so more people require that water, and see this is why the per capita water need is reducing. Now if you go to the schools, as you said that we are going to open full blast. Most schools have just a tank of 5,000 liters. And this 5,000 liters with, let's say, 1,000 students or 500 students, let me use another calculation. A tank which they harvested from rainwater with only 1,000 students. And these students, they require, and I say it, 5 liters per day.
Yes.
A pupil and a student require, even that's the young one, even require more.
Yes.
They run so fast, they want to clean 5 liters of water per day. Can those schools harvest 5 liters of water per day? Can those schools draw water from the river to give each child 5 liters of water per day? Can those schools have boreholes or dig boreholes or wells that can serve 5 liters of water per day? That is the scenario. And if that's the scenario, even if you have a borehole, of course, this water you're drawing it from the aquifer, it also has to start declining. And so that's a big challenge, to make sure that each school, each pupil has water per day. So that's a challenge to the government. The government has tried well. They have given desks. And we also have the Ministry of Water has what we're calling Water for Schools program. And county governments have the same program, but that program needs to be enhanced with the resources. As we are opening in January, we need to enhance resources from county, national government, and any other well-wisher so that we have enough water in schools. And some schools are in locations which we don't even have a borehole, or even you want to put a borehole, you lose a lot of money. And one borehole is 2 million plus, even to serve a community and serve a school. If you are to do a well, it's also very expensive. And the money for infrastructure could be 1.5 million the Ministry of Education gives to a school, primary school, for infrastructure to expand the classrooms.
Yes.
And so if that same money, you cannot put it to, again, put a tank.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a big challenge to those managers for those institutions. Yeah, I want to say that KV, because we are a water institution, we have a borehole, in fact 2 boreholes, which chance a lot of water. So in the compound we have water. Apart from getting water from the Nairobi City Council or the Nairobi County, we have water. But these other schools, secondary schools, let's say a school in Maranda, they have been relying on, they don't have a board, they've been relying on water from River Yala. And now everybody, and that's their intake.
Yes.
The university also, Jaramogi is also getting water from the same. So all that demand and from the same one single source is not that easy. So water for school is a big problem, and it's a big challenge to what we are going to see in January, because we need to have that water.
Yes, and talking of January, Kenya has not fully utilized water harvesting.
Yes.
And sinking of boreholes or even water pans and dams,
yes,
as the government had promised. But harvesting of water needs to be re-emphasized, because even come January, we will require more water.
Yes, and I think it would have been done now, because
Yes.
January, if the tanks will be coming in January, there will be no rain.
Yes.
The rains have been, we've been so lucky this year that they've been having rains, the short rains, which are from October to December, we will have some rains. But so if those schools had tanks, or there were additional tanks to harvest that, that would have been good. But January towards April, when there's no rain, it's a dry season.
Yes.
So it's not just that there's no, but even the season itself, if you want to harvest water, what is happening now is that I think this is a policy that if you are putting up a new structure,
Yes.
it should harvest some water, like in other countries. But I think implementation is now the problem. They're enforcing that each person has a tank of water. When it rains, that's not there. But it's there, but it's not enforced. But I think that should be the reality, that the water that falls from your roof, you should harvest it, either in a small pond or in a small tank, or in some way you bring it back in your system in your house, in your home, or in an institution. So most institutions, most schools, if you go there, that water is rain. They have roofs, but the water is not harvested.
Yes.
That's the reality. Yeah.
So what would constitute an efficient water management system in Kenya, and now that we require even more water?
You think the first thing is we don't wait for pandemics. I also have a planning background. The first thing is you must plan always, that you're planning from a resource which you're given by nature. So if you let nature, they want to control you, you find there is a problem. So planning is very key. How much water do we have on daily basis? How much water do we get from boreholes, the groundwater? How much water do we get from surface water? How much water do we have in that particular location, even a county? That is what is critical, planning first. Then resources to develop this water structure. So before you manage efficiently, you must develop it. So budgeting to develop water. If we realize that with this COVID, that water is key, if the percentage budget was 2% or 1% for water in national government or county government, then they need to increase that percentage of budget. So they say they can move from 2% to 5% or 6%, and eventually go to 10% of the resources that the budget for goes to water. Because you have already talked about, we have said it is an enabler.
Yes.
In all sectors, it's an enabler. So that's one. Then now implementation, once you've budgeted and you have these resources, you implement. And maintenance, that's where we are weak. We don't maintain structures. I want to talk about non-revenue water. Non-revenue water is water that's lost in a water system. We train experts on non-revenue water. So this water, we must reduce water that is not accounted for, water that is not used. It pours the pipe, then it leaks out. So the county government, municipalities, water companies must invest in reducing non-revenue water, in reducing water that leaks out in the system. They must invest in technology that can monitor what we call smart metering, that can monitor the loss of water in a system. So that way, even boreholes should have a metering system, so that we know how much are you using. Then, because when you use water, you are releasing to the environment.
Yes.
And I think in Nairobi, if you have a borehole, they put a meter that will also they put a meter so that they control. You pay for the water you are going to release to the environment, because it affects them. So those kind of systems must be there. Total monitoring of every drop of water.
Yes.
Every drop of water must be accounted for, and every person must have access to water. Now that we know it is health, and it is everything.
And you've rightfully put it that this year we have been privileged to have lots and lots of rain.
Yes.
And also we've fortunately floods that have really swept many parts of the country. But unfortunately we are not harnessing this water. As an expert, what would you advise?
Yes, I think the word is harvesting, reducing water that just runs off and then affects others. But it requires a lot of investment to develop flood management structures. It's a lot of investment, but we have to invest. We have to invest in where canals had been done. We have to invest in dredging those canals, opening those canals, so that the water runs in the right channel. We have to invest in managing the runoffs, that water runs in the environment. We have to invest in that process. That's in the natural. We also have to invest in conservation of the catchments, because when catchments are being destroyed, like the Mao catchment and other Mount Elgon catchment, we have an agency called Kenya Water Agency, Kenya Water Tower Agency, to manage the. So that we also must have investment in catchment management, in managing that water. Even the groundwater is recharged from the catchment. So all the catchments, when they have been identified, both surface and the groundwater, once we've identified them, we must invest in conserving them, protecting them, and of course that will be. We also have to invest in quality of water, reducing pollution in our water systems. Municipalities in the country, most municipalities find that most of their waste find itself, even garbage, find themselves in the water. Nairobi is just a key example, and any other. So again, those structures must be put in place so that every water, every drop of water, whether it rains, wherever it comes from, counts to manage the health and the life that people need from water.
When we talk about water, of course, water goes hand in hand with sanitation. What is the current situation that we have in the country?
Yes, water goes in hand in hand with sanitation. I said that the sanitation, we are at 26% access to sanitation. And water,
which is quite low.
Quite low, and water we are at 60%. The ministry has put up programs and projects. Even this year alone, there's almost 680 projects being run to improve the access to water, and so that we can move from 60 to 80, then finally to 100 coverage. The same sanitation, the ministry is also trying to remove. We move from 26% up to 40%. That's what we call the ministry total vision on water structures. All this, if those is going to happen, human resource management is key, because most of these projects, some are funded from outside by development partners, some are by contractors, but when they leave, who manages the structure? So human resource development is key, and that's what the role of KEWI now, to develop human resources, that human capital, the technicians, the lab technologies, what we call the water analysts, or even water engineers, that water engineer technicians that are going to manage those structures. So the government also has to put, both county government and national government, put resources in human resource development, because these structures must be managed. These resources must be managed. I was just now saying what the role of KEWI in this whole process.
Of course, and we'll be getting deeper and deeper into that conversation. We are indeed talking about water and sanitation utilization, and especially now that we have COVID-19, where you need to keep your hands clean. And I'm joined by Patrick Hayombe, Professor Patrick Hayombe, who is the CEO of the Kenya Water Institute. But we are taking a short break. We'll be right back with more.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Enjoy the magic of Christmas with Coca-Cola.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
You knocked that guy out in 9 seconds, man. You are bad, man.
I hope this is the beginning of great things.
I already have a good feeling.
Zaik, unafanya nini hapa mzee?
What do you think? Fighting against Chico.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
He was my son!
Are you saying you have another son?
Yes, I am.
Goodness. How are we going to tell Andrea?
I can't believe that Julio is a compulsive gambler.
Honestly, I have no idea why we're together if we never agree on anything.
He lost the money that my parents, that my dad, his brother, left me? How could he do this to me?
I have no idea who I am or where I came from.
What does that matter, son? I'm your father, Jorge.
I came to tell you that I'm going to sue you. You gambled away all my money.
In love with Ramon. Two lionesses struggle to cohabit.
Because I'm not going to stand here and be compared to some...
Hey, Nancy, don't try me.
As the coastal vacation brings Nancy and Joe closer.
Nancy, you are full of surprises. What would you like me to do for you this morning?
Or will it be?
Now, can you give us some space?
No. Ni usherati.
Watch your mouth, Mother Teresa.
Or what?
These games that you and Nancy are playing.
Na nyinyi mmekuwa akina nani kuingilia mambo ya wazazi wenu?
Stringed, making a comeback. Hotter.
Just gonna stand there and stare at us?
How do you think things will end up here?
This is a conversation between your father and I.
Sometimes it would be good if you would just stand your ground.
Wait, Mtoto, wait. What happens between me and Mama Paul is none of your business.
Bolder.
You know Mama Paul is leaving you.
So what?
What?
I'm done being your puppet and dancing to your tune and manipulation.
I called the clients and told them that the court has shut us down.
Only on KBC Channel 1. Fridays at 8:30 p.m. This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Of course. Can I do to blame for the world coming down? Can I do to blame for the recent floods? Blame me even for the potholes on the road. Blame me for your stupidity. Blame me even for you coming to grocery.
Wow, Julia. You mean you are shining in gold nowadays?
Look at this Dokon. Do you even listen to yourself before you speak?
Oh, please. We both know that I am a giver. Go spoil yourself, eh? I know you need it.
Well, thank you. I am not giving you a cut, Farah.
If you are referring into Kinanzui, you should know Kinanzui is no longer the watchman. They have found someone else.
This one used to behave like he was the old school.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Welcome back to Channel 1 News Check, where today we are looking at the utilization of water during the COVID-19 pandemic, and especially now that we will be having full reopening of schools in January. But before we go back to our discussion, remember we are also live on all our social media platforms, and I'm joined by Professor Patrick Hayombe, who is the CEO of Kenya Water Institute. I would like us to cross over to the Kenya-Moyale border, where the head of state is expected to be commissioning a Moyale one-stop border point together with his Ethiopian counterpart Abiy Ahmed. And our reporter Ed Kabasa is on standby. Kabasa, if you can hear me, kindly What is the latest?
Thank you very much, Ben Troy Njue. We are live, of course, at the border between Kenya and Ethiopia at the Moyale border town. And just like what we witnessed in Namanga a couple of months ago and Busia a couple of months ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Ethiopian counterpart, Abiy Ahmed, will be commissioning this particular project, which is expected to ease movement between Kenya and Ethiopia. The one-stop border point is an initiative that is aimed at reducing the amount of time and the processing required to move from both countries into the other. Behind me is the Kenya side of the customs. That building is a new facility which President Uhuru Kenyatta and Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed will be opening today. Inside is the normal procedures that is required for a border crossing point. The customs are there. The Kenya Revenue Authority is also housed inside there. And a new facility has been added, and that facility is that which is manned by the Ministry of Health. We are living under new normal, and those who are crossing from the other side, what you can see right now is the Ethiopian side of the border. If you are crossing from Ethiopia to Kenya, you are processed on this side. But if you're crossing from Kenya to Ethiopia, you are processed inside that building that you are currently seeing. This is an initiative that both governments are expecting to boost trade, for example, and also cut the time that is taken to cross from one side to the other. The process is going to be done in such a way that the Ethiopian officials and the Kenyan officials will be interacting and doing what they are required to do seamlessly to cut costs and also to cut the amount of time that is required to go about the whole processing. And on your screen is the army band. This band or this army will be mounted. The guard will be mounted in honor of the Ethiopian Prime Minister, who is making his first official visit outside Ethiopia after what we witnessed in Tigray, after Abiy Ahmed announced that the operation in Tigray and most importantly Mekele, the capital of that particular region, was complete. And Abiy Ahmed will be joining President Uhuru Kenyatta here in a couple of minutes or from now. And after speaking to the press, the two leaders will fly to Lamu Port. Ethiopia and Kenya are engaged in a very ambitious program, the LAPSET corridor, which is expected to boost trade between these two countries. South Sudan is also among those countries that signed up to this ambitious flagship project of Vision 2030. So apart from the Northern Corridor, the LAPSET program is expected to ease transport between these two countries. It will consist of a railway line. There is a highway there as well, and the port of Lamu will be used by the Ethiopian government as one of the areas to which goods and commodity can reach that East African country. Ethiopia has moved to allay fears that the relations that it has been fostering with the countries such as Djibouti, countries such as Eritrea, should not be seen as a threat to the LAPSET program. It says that the whole of the southern region needs a port, and Lamu is that port that is going to provide that opportunity for Ethiopia to interact with countries such as Kenya to ease the movement of goods and people into the south of Ethiopia. This one-stop border point is expected to ease that process, and hopefully Kenyans or Ethiopians or whoever wants to use this particular facility will be able to do that in a very smooth way. Troy.
had lots of security issues when it comes to the border points, and especially on the northern side where Kenya borders Ethiopia, and of course where Kenya borders Somalia. How is security right now?
The two countries have had really smooth relations over the years. President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed have forged a very symbiotic relationship between the two of them. Over the last couple of months, yes, we have seen those kinds of skirmishes at the border, especially the Kenyan and the Ethiopian border. We have seen the Ethiopian authorities run operations along the border, but that really is not being seen as a disadvantage, a big disadvantage to the relationship that these two countries have been trying to foster over the years. Of course, Kenya and Ethiopia are also united in the war against insurgency in Somalia. That relationship, and coupled with the fact that Kenya is now a member of the UN Security Council, it forces the two countries to come together and see reason as to why the region needs that stability. So in terms of cracking down and doubling down on insecurity in the region, the two countries are playing a very vital role, so that what the pockets of violence that have been witnessed over the last couple of years or the last couple of months does not blow up into something that is going to jeopardize the efforts that these two countries have been trying to come up with. Troy.
Do we expect the two leaders to grace the occasion?
We are not really sure, but according to the program here, perhaps by 11, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed will cross the border into Kenya. He will be ushered in by President Uhuru Kenyatta, hopefully at the airstrip. Abiy will be inspecting a guard of honor, which has already been mounted behind me. And what will happen is that after inspecting the guard of honor, the two leaders will cross the border into Ethiopia, whereby they will open the Ethiopian side of the customs, and then they will cross back into Kenya, and they will open the Kenyan office, after which they will move to a tent which has been mounted just opposite me, and they will give a brief press briefing. I understand that the number of speakers has been limited, those who will speak, but of course President Uhuru Kenyatta will be one of those who will be addressing the press there. Prime Minister Abiy will also be addressing the press, and I understand that the message will be centered on the importance of the LAPSET program and the one-stop border point, which the two leaders will be commissioning here today. They will be encouraging both countries to find a way of maximizing on this opportunity. If you can remember, a couple of months ago, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani urged Kenyans to make good use of this facility. There is some informal trade which is happening between the two countries, but both countries will be looking for a way to push their members or their respective citizens to make very good use of this. It is seamless, Troy.
Thank you so much, Ed Kabasa, coming to us live from Moyale County, where President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ethiopia Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed are expected to commission the Moyale one-stop border point. Of course, it's gonna help a lot when it comes to goods and services, and also crossing there. And of course, he's talked about security. We've had issues with the border points in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Kenya, Somalia, because of insurgency and the threat of Al-Shabaab. But we will be getting back to that function as soon as the two leaders grace the event. You are watching Channel 1 News Check. Thank you for joining us. And in case you've joined us, we're talking about water utilization, and especially now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic with us, and we're expecting that the full reopening of schools in January. And I have Professor Patrick Hayombe, who is the CEO of the Kenya Water Institute. Before the short break and before we took that live feed, we were talking about the sanitation in the country and how we can try and make it better, and especially now that we have a new normal, that is the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, as just mentioned earlier, sanitation is very critical because the water we use is supposed to run as wastes, and so managing our sanitation system is important because first it helps us to recycle the water. It also helps us to reduce pollution in the water resources that we already have, the groundwater, the surface water, and the sanitation also help us improve the health condition, because if we don't manage our sanitation, that we are also likely to be affected or impacted by other health diseases. So sanitation is very critical. And to manage sanitation, you need that water. And you need water at all times, so that, yes, you develop sanitation structures. The first resource that is required is water. So it's very, very important that our access to sanitation, which is at 26%, and the government has put up measures to make sure that we increase it at least to 40%. And most of sanitation urban areas is in critical condition, because we find in the informal settlement, 5% of land, which is informal settlement, is people living there are almost 60% of the population. Nairobi, land is just 5% in Kibera and Korogocho, and the other slums, but 60% of the population are staying in those slums. You go to Kisumu, the same thing is replicated, 5% of land, 60% are staying in the slums, the number of people. The same to Mombasa and Nakuru. You can mention all of them. So those urban areas have serious sanitation challenges. We are talking about open, what we call flying toilets. We are talking about toilets which are dug and they are in very bad conditions. You do one today, tomorrow it's full, because the people using that are so many. And all these are on the environment. And that's why we have our runoffs, and that runoffs runs to join the water system. If you go to rural areas, also sanitation is a critical challenge. And in many places, people have been talking about open defecation. People are using the open under a tree, and we don't have toilets in most homes. And I think this is still a big challenge. So you see, most of the sanitation or the water we use, or the refuse that we get from human beings, end up in water. So it's a big challenge to the country to improve sanitation in urban areas and improve sanitation in rural areas, because they go hand in hand in terms of the water's resource that is going to be affected. That means that even most of the diseases, if they are not managed, the sanitation not managed, most of the diseases are also related. Diseases which are waterborne diseases, they are also related to a lack of sanitation in many facilities. And so sanitation management and putting resources in developing sanitation structures is very critical in budgeting for counties and national government.
Indeed. And talking of clean water, there is the solar disinfection where it purifies water. Can you take us through that system and how it can be well used in the country? Have we also started using it?
Yes, these structures are there, these technologies are there. Solarization in water treatment is a critical, an infrastructure that can be developed, and there are also some being developed in many countries they're using. Solar is a big resource in this country, so if any method that technology can use to tap the solar energy to disinfect water, to use it to improve irrigation. There's also, you can do irrigation driven. That energy, solar energy, is very, very important. And just as you say, disinfecting water using solar is critical. The UV radiation is important to reduce pathogens in a particular water system, or the water that you want to use for bottling. But also, the scientists also say that too much UV radiation in the bottling water or in water you're using also has impacts. But it's a technology that can be enhanced, and the country can also use it to use it in all its facets, as it were.
Indeed. And sinking more boreholes, do they pose a challenge perhaps with the water table and other ecosystems?
Yes. The water table and the water that is held in the aquifer is just one of the structures that holds that those two levels of the water, the upper aquifer and so that aquifer itself, if you reduce water in the aquifer, there's chances that there will be subsidence. There's chance that it will come down, so others who don't understand, it will turn that the earth system will start sinking. So we call that subsidence. So there's too much borehole drilling is not really fair. If we now say the solution in Nairobi is putting boreholes.
Yes.
Within 3 months, you've done 300 boreholes. And this borehole gets water from the surface water also. They are recharged. So very soon you also see most of our springs and streams are also dry because the water has gone to they have drawn back to the boreholes, and now, so it has a lot of impact to the environment and into the water resource as a store. So groundwater, yes, it's an important water resource, but when everybody, like I say, in Nairobi, you go to South B, South C, Kileleswa, everybody is now doing his own borehole.
Yes.
And so that they say, I have my own water, and even KBC is doing their own borehole, I don't know. You could be doing one.
Yes.
Yeah, so every institution wants to have their own borehole. It's not that water is secure for. After some 2-3 years, countries like Oklahoma, in a state in Oklahoma, like in the US, they depend so much on boreholes. But there's something they do. They do a lot of conservation of their borehole catchment, the reserve. They do a lot of conservation on where that water comes from. So fine, Nairobi can do a lot of boreholes, but they must also put a lot of resources in managing the source of that water, where the water is coming from, to join the aquifer. It's assumed that the aquifer is water which has been held for many years. Yes, like the other aquifer in northeastern, but the ones we are doing in Nairobi, between 80 to 250, 100, 250, most of them also get water from surface water. So we need to also conserve that and make sure that we protect them.
And indeed, on talking of conservation efforts, of course, we have seen some of the efforts, and especially on the Mau, and people even have had to be requested to look for alternative land. How has the conservation here in Kenya been, and how has it helped since it started? Because I remember a couple of years back we were on the red.
Yes, there have been a lot of efforts in conserving the water catchment, and that's why I talked about Kenya Water Tower Agency. That agency is supposed to manage the main water towers. We have the Mount Elgon Water Tower, the Mau Water Tower, the Mount Kenya Water Tower, and the other water, the Badeas. So that agency is supposed to manage that tower, the catchment itself, in terms of planting trees is one of them, managing the river banks, managing riparian reserves, making sure that the right kind of tree species are the ones that are planted in those catchments. Also linking up with the owners of land so that they practice good husbandry that manages the water resource. So there are two bodies. We also have Water Resource Management Authority, which has mandate to manage water, to monitor, and also the water resource. So I think there are many efforts that has been done so far, and you could see if people were removed from Mau, it meant that there was increase of water in the Mara River, the Mara River system. Once so many people had been removed. So there are also results out of those kind of removed. Even Mount Elgon, people are removed. And I think there also impact on the river Zoya, those rivers that come from the catchment, the Yala and all that. So there are lots of results, outcomes when you remove people from a bigger catchment. And also you remove them, but you also give them land and settle them so that they can also use that water again. So you don't remove them, you don't leave them, you don't give them an option of survival. Yes.
And you talked about partnership. What are some of the agencies that you're partnering with? I know the United Nations has some agencies that help out, and especially right now that we have COVID-19. And in what research programs have you actually partnered with them?
Yes, I want to say that, as I mentioned earlier, that KV has the mandate also to do research, and KV and research and training, and also outreach and consultancy. KV partners first with the development partners that come on board. For example, I mentioned earlier the BWAC project, which is Bavarian Institutional Water Association Corporation in Bavaria, in Germany. We also partner with the NUFIC. The NUFIC is a Netherlands project that we are now talking about smart agriculture, Kenya Water Institute, and we collaborate with the Mary University and other partners in Europe. So we have the NUFIC project. We look at smart agriculture. How do we enhance water for food production? We also partner with we'll be having a partnership with the African Development Bank on health and sanitation. So that's also another agency. KV has partnered so much with JICA, Japanese International Cooperation Agency, on what we are calling non-revenue water. And so to reduce the water loss in most of the water companies, water corporations, water agencies, and mainly municipalities, the oil municipalities. So KV's role here is to train people on how to manage non-revenue water. Here is reduce leakage, monitor the leakage, and so it's a project that is funded by JICA, and Kenya Water Institute, and also what we call WASPA. WASPA is Water Service Provider Association. This is an association of companies that supply water, or what we call the WSPs, water service providers. So they are come as associations, so they nominate their staff to be trained on managing non-revenue water. This course, KV does it in Kenya Water Institute campus. Then they go a field work. They do field work. And doing the field work, they try to improve some issues or related challenges in water structure in clusters. Well, if they go to Kisumu, there's a water cluster that after some time, if the revenue was, the revenue water was 60%, they reduce it to 40%. You reduce the water that is non-revenue because it's water that is lost and is not sold. So the company, you reduce that percentage of water that you sold, and you get a cost for it because water has a cost. We also partner with, of course, earlier on, KV has been partnering with many other organizations like even UNICEF, and we are calling them to come on board so that KV can collaborate with them, water and sanitation, what we call the WASH campaign. So UNICEF, we welcome them. We also ready to partner with UNEP if they want to talk about capacity building, funding capacity building in the water sector, because that's an area that has not really, we need to put a lot of more resources to make sure that we have human capital that can manage the water sector from the technician, the lower level kind of people who manage this structure. So we welcome any partnership from UNEP, from UNESCO mainly in water assessment. So KV is also ready to be participate with UNESCO in water assessment, and also even water for schools. If there are organizations which are interested in water for schools, KV can partner with them in doing the assessment to really have the real data of this water we're talking about. Is that child, does he have 5 liters of water?
Okay, hold the thought. As I had alluded to earlier, that His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta is having a busy day today, where he's also expected to fly to Lamu for the LAPSET project. And Michael Mwadiga, our reporter, is on standby to give us a brief of what to expect and a feel of what is there right now. Mwadiga.
Assalamu alaikum, Ben Troy Njue. We are at the new port of Lamu here in Lamu County. It is in Kilalani area, and as it is we are expecting the head of state, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, to come and inspect this multi-billion project. This project was incepted back in the year 2012 by the then President Mwai Kibaki, the late Prime Minister of Ethiopia, that is the late Meles Zenawi, and Salva Kiir of Southern Sudan. This project cost at a tune of 42 billion, and currently three baths are complete at a tune of 42 billion shillings. And in the year 2021, the financial year of 2020-2021 to be precise, it was added extra 6 billion shillings to fast track this project. And this project, this area where Lamu County is, it is in the northern part of Kenya, and it's one of the places or counties, to be precise, or areas which was seen to be marginalized. But as it is to develop this place, what was expected to be done was to ensure that to have that socio-economic development is to put that massive infrastructure, transport infrastructure, so as to open this area to other parts of the nation and of course other countries in East Africa region. And as it is now in this project, the project itself, this concept was mooted back in the year 1975 when the then President Mwai Kibaki was the Prime Minister. And as it goes now, the project has come, after it was incepted, now the project is ongoing at the moment. And this project, it has several components, and the components are the ports, the railway, the roads, and the pipeline. And once it is completed, this mega project, the pipeline will also be used to transport oil, and from the crude oil that is from southern Sudan to this place, and of course to be distributed to other areas, and of course the road to Ethiopia. And at the moment also there's the road, the Lamu Isiolo road. Of course it's now on construction, as it is all the information we have at the moment is that the project has already commenced. And as my cameraman will show you across, now this is the bath where we are here at Lamu County, and back there, as you can see, it is the farthest end there behind that ship. That is Tondoni Island. It is one of the islands near here, which of course the people also, all the residents in that area will also benefit from this project, and of course other people. Now this is the area whereby ships will be docking, and of course do the relevant activities which they'll be doing here at this port. Now at the moment, several visitors are about to come in. There are several cars coming in at the moment. We're expecting the president later in the day who will come here to inspect this multi-billion project. And it's once completed, as it is now, it's all of the country's second transport corridor, and of course it will be the biggest port, of course, in Kenya after Mombasa port. And of course these are the several projects which have been done by the government to ensure that Kenya is put on the world map of developments. Behind me, things as are at the moment, of course, visitors' cars are parked here, visitors coming here expecting the president later, of course, to inspect the project and address the nation on how the project is at the moment. And from the farthest end there, as my cameraman will show you, the project is going on, construction work is on there, the way things are. Of course, as I told you earlier on, it is a multi-billion project. It's a mega project which is going on, and of course that is what is going on at the moment. Construction, as it is, this port, as I've told you earlier on, it will be the biggest port in the country after the Mombasa port. So that's what is going on at the moment, construction, and of course it's what the president will expect to see the government initiative in developing this country, and of course putting it on the world map as one of the developing, also the developed countries with a better and proper infrastructure. And as it is at the moment, Kenya, of course, has got its own mineral resources, and of course this port will be used to transport those mineral resources to other countries, and of course grow the national GDP. That's what we have at the moment here at Lamu County. Ben Troy, maybe not unless you have something you need a clarification before I hand it over to the studio.
Go there, yeah?
Well, it is as it is now, Ben Troy, and I hand it over to you back in the studios. Of course, later in the day, we'll give you more details on what will be transpiring here and after the president has arrived. It's what we have for now from Lam County, and back to you, the studios.
That was our reporter, Michael Mwadiga, there giving us a brief of what to expect today. Remember, President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Ethiopian counterpart will be inspecting the new Lamu Port, part of the Lapsset corridor, if you like, the 42 billion shillings project, which is expected to boost socio-economic development of Kenya and other partners, including Ethiopia and, of course, South Sudan. From there, the president, of course, has already arrived in Moyale, and our reporter Ed Kabasa is on standby to give us a feel of what is currently happening. Kabasa, if you can hear me? Yeah, those are live pictures from the Moyale border post. The dignitaries are arriving, as you can see. Ed Kabasa, if you can hear me, kindly give us a brief of what is happening.
Hello? Ben Troy, that was a guard of honor that was mounted for the Ethiopian Prime Minister, who is on an official visit, a two-day official visit to Kenya. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, alongside his Kenyan counterpart President Uhuru Kenyatta, will then proceed to commission the one-stop border point at Isiolo, or beg your pardon, Moyale, beg your pardon. The Moyale is the border between Kenya and Ethiopia. This is a project which has been undertaken in collaboration between these two countries, and it is aimed at easing movement between these two countries. The heads of state will be also proceeding to Lamu, where they will be inspecting the LAPSET project. That is an ambitious project between these two countries that is also going to boost the economies of these two East African countries. Ethiopia and Kenya enjoy very smooth bilateral relationship, and this project is going to foster that relationship further. There is the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, the two heads of state on this important project launch, which is estimated to boost the economies of these two countries greatly. And now they are headed towards the Ethiopian side. That is the side that will be commissioned first, and then they will cross back to the Kenyan side. So at this moment, they are crossing the border between Kenya and Ethiopia, and they will be entering the no man's land in a couple of seconds. We are trying as much as we can to ensure that we keep our viewers updated, and it has been a long time coming, really, for these two countries, because the LAPSET program, a project which is expected to pass through this border point. Countries can be able to forge ahead towards a more united economies, considering the variance in their GDPs. Right now, we are at the no man's land in Ethiopia, and a lot of jostling there, handshake. Troy, I will now hand it over to you, but hopefully we'll be able to reconnect again when the two leaders will be issuing a press briefing. Over to you, Troy.
Thank you so much, Ed Kabasa. As you have seen and as you can see, the two heads of state are actually on no man's land, and now they are actually commissioning the Ethiopian side. Remember, this is supposed to be a collaboration between the two nations, and it will ease movement and also trade, will foster relationship between the two countries, and of course it is going to boost the economy. And after that, the two leaders will be flying to Lamu Port for the LAPSET corridor inspection, where 42 billion shillings have been used for the LAPSET project, which also is expected to boost socio-economic development of the country and other partners, including Ethiopia and also Southern Sudan. And as Mwadiga had informed us earlier, is that also an oil channel for the South Sudanese country. So the two events will be running concurrently after they commission the two projects. And of course, now they are headed towards commissioning the Moyale border, one-stop border point on the Kenyan side, after which they will be opening the two offices and give a brief press conference on the same. We will, of course, be getting back to Kabasa and our crew back there when the two leaders will be having also a conversation on how the project has been. Of course, it has been a long time coming, a couple of years, to boost the two border points, remembering that Ethiopia and Kenya have been partners for a while now, and they have all bared the brunt of insecurity in both countries. Ethiopia having the Tigray area insurgency, and also on the Somali side we have had a lot of issues with the Al-Shabaab militia, of course, which has really brought down business and the economy at those border points. In case you're just joining us, this is News Check, and unfortunately we apologize for the weak signal that is coming from the Moyale one-stop border post. And as Kabasa had alluded, they were on the no man's land, after which they will commission the two offices. Again, we do apologize for the weak signal from the Moyale border post. Of course, as you can see, the two heads of state, of course, flanked by other officials, they are inspecting the Moyale one-stop border points, of which they will be expected to open two offices, one on the Kenyan side and the other on the Ethiopian side. border post where President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Ethiopian counterpart Abiy Ahmed are commissioning the Moyale one-stop border point, which, as we have been told by Kabasa, is expected to boost a lot of trade and movement from Kenya to Ethiopia and also from Ethiopia to Kenya. The two leaders are flanked, of course, by some of their ministers. Kenya, we have the finance CS, and of course the Prime Minister of Ethiopia is flanked by his ministers. The two heads of state will be expected to also inspect the LAPSSET project back in Lamu. Of course, we'll also be getting in touch with our reporter Mwadiga to give us a feel of what to also expect in the other two functions. Of course, Southern Sudan, countries like Uganda and Tanzania, of course, are also going to benefit from the LAPSSET 42 billion shillings project. And in case you've just joined us, this is Channel 1 News Check. We have been looking at the water utilization and sanitation here in the country. And as soon as we get clear and clean pictures from Moyale one-stop border point, we will be headed there, where also our crew there, led by Ed Kabasa, are on standby. Of course, we have been talking to Professor Patrick Hayombe, who is the CEO of the Kenya Water Institute. And before actually we headed back to Moyale, before we went to Moyale, Professor, we were talking about safe and clean water. What are the options of making it even more safe? We've seen, of course, chlorine being used, others do boil water, and right now, since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, we require each and every clean drop.
Yes, as mentioned earlier, that human beings require 80% of their body is water. It means what is life, and if it is life, then we need to get it the right quality and quantity. We need to get the right quality of water, and that means safe water and what we call potable water. Water treatment, there are many methods of water treatment. The main ones are the water treatment structures, which are already developed by the municipalities, and they tap water from most of the rivers, and then they clean it, of course, through many other methods. The sedimentation is one of them. Coagulation is another process, and many other processes, and then we get water. Chlorine is also added to reduce the bacteria that would have remained and the fungi that would have remained in that water system, and then it is supplied to people to use it. Those who are using water back in the homes and the villages, they have been boiling water. So traditionally, they have been boiling water to use as another method. We also have what we call earlier on, as you mentioned earlier, that solar energy or UV radiation. People have also been putting water in the sun to kill pathogens, and so that's the traditional knowledge of doing that kind of structure. Then we also have several filtering system that filters water, and then you get the correct water. So depending on which type of water that you're going to use as your source, you need to treat it to some level so that it's habitable and used by the human beings. We also have salty water, and reducing salts from water is another challenge to many water, which is many groundwater, and this water from the lakes and the sea, the salinization as a process, and people reduce saline in the water, and they use it. So there are many methods, so depending on the technology. I mentioned earlier reverse osmosis as a method to remove all the pathogens in the water, so that's also a technology, and it's done at a micro scale. You can do it at a micro scale, macro scale, and also at a bigger scale, like those countries like Singapore I talked about. They have macro, big, huge water infrastructure treatments, which also reduces water, it recycles water, and then you have the water that you can use. So there are many methods to make sure that people have safe water. And all along, people had assumed that you use the rainwater is clean. Of course, sometimes it's clean, sometimes it's not clean, because it also traps particulate matter in the atmosphere, and then that joins the water that you tap in your tank or you harvest. So that also requires treatment. And there are many kind of treatment that we talk about. We talk of chemical treatment, reducing bacterial treatment, even the wastewater that joins water. All those treatments are done to reduce water so that have water that is safe. And it's important to have safe water because water is a carrier. As you see, either it gets pathogens, whatever, from the atmosphere, you get it from the surface. It's also, some are also natural, like the fluorides that we have in our water system, and also has a lot of fluorisis and affecting the teeth and all that. So you need to treat. So investment in water treatment is a major concern for some water infrastructure, and you realize that water treatment works, and water quality analysis is a key area. And I would say that here KV does consultancies, water quality analysis, chemical and physical analysis, wastewater analysis, and also bacteriology analysis. So we do tests for clients, for people, so that they get the correct water. Yes.
And how does Kenya compare with other countries in terms of access to clean water and also affordable, because some have to buy the water?
Yeah, let me start from water is a social good. And if you talk about or refer to our constitution, say that each person is required to have clean and safe water, and also clean, safe water and sanitation. So it's a requirement in the constitution. Water is a social good, and that's reflected in our Vision 2030, which made water as a social pillar that it's a right. It's a right to have water. And that means that the government over years have been investing so that we can have that right. We can benefit from that right in the Constitution, that water is a right, that you need to have it. Goal 6 of Sustainable Development Goals talks about clean and safe water. That's a global goal, meaning that every country strives to make sure that there's clean and safe water. Comparatively, in Africa, there are other countries which are like first worlds, like South Africa, Cape Town, like Egypt. Those ones are so much ahead of us. But generally in the sub-Saharan Africa, Kenya is not very bad in terms of water that is access to water in the region. But compared to other regions, which are not African regions, I think we have not really reached there, because 25% sanitation, 60% access to potable water. About this water that when you take it, it is good water for health and for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's shift focus to water vendors. Some have been accused, of course, of selling unclean water. And how can we ensure that they are well regulated and each and every person that buys water buys clean water?
Yes, we have Water Regulatory Authority, what we call WASREB, and we also have which regulates the water now as a structure. So that authority was created to regulate standards in water, the water use supplies, to regulate companies, to even regulate the water you supply to people and even the companies. And we also have KEBS, Kenya Bureau of Standards, which have the mandate to sample any water you are selling to people or you are giving people. So KEBS can come to my house and do a quality analysis, and who's the supplier? The supplier could be Sia County or Murang'a County. Then they tell you are supplying substandard water, and they can go to an institution. So we have structures, Kenya Bureau of Standards, to look at drinking water and any other type of water for that particular use. But we also say that regular testing is very important. Regular testing, that liaising with the bodies that test quality of water that you are supplying to people. Vendors have been accused, yes, been accused that they supply water that is not that's not clean. And I think now the Water Resource Management Authority and Water Company, they are regulating those who supply water using the water boozers. They are registered, they are supposed to be registered so that they are known. But we also have the ordinary vendors in the villages, in urban centers, which carry jerrycans and sell water. It's true, you might not know where they get water, but now there's a system where they are also being tracked. Just to you track Uber, they want to be registered in that innovation system where you call water in your house, you say I need water, and then they bring you. So that kind of premise is going on in Nairobi to register all the water vendors, water kiosks, and so they are registered so that they can be monitored. They can, you know where they are, you can sample, and you also, even the ones who are vending, you know where they are. And I think that kind of regulation going on, making sure that those vendors, this association, and they are in a group that you can monitor, you can improve their governance structures, you can improve the linkage and the network, how you talk to them. That's very critical. Definitely, ensuring that we give quality water. Any company, any organization that supplies water for use, for domestic, industrial, and also other uses, must ensure that there are quality checks, and they have labs. They are taking their water goes to the lab always, all the time, so that there's a record that this water is always analyzed, and this somebody can verify that I'm taking quality water. You also, as an individual, you are allowed to take your water. You can take it to Kenya Water Institute lab. We have labs in the main KV campus, that's South Sea. We have labs for chemical water and all that. We also have labs in industrial area. We also have a lab, the water quality research lab. So you can take your water there and you pay, and then you're given results, and especially borehole water.
Yes.
There have been a lot of issues about borehole water in Nairobi. So we welcome those who own boreholes that regularly they can bring their water to Kenya Water Institute to test for them and give them results so that they see what, and then when you get the results, you can understanding what could be the problem. There's a lot of chlorine, or is this a fecal matter, or there's a lot of calcium. What is the source? So you start understanding that. Or if it is what we call biological oxygen demand, there's a lot of that, or chemical oxygen demand. Or there's some oil, all that. Yes. So you regularly doing that, and then it's reported to you that this was happening. So even as an individual, you can, even if you take
responsibility.
Yes, responsibility.
Yes. Indeed, thank you for that. And I see also Victor Omondi watching from Kisumu, Sondu, Podi Silas, you're watching from Migori, Hux Smesha on top, watching from Moyale, Ethiopia, watching from Mombasa, Po Aremba, Hassan Ado, you're also watching from Moyale, the Kenyan side. Of course, we'll be headed back there to know what exactly is transpiring. But for now, we are taking a break. Before that, I've seen there's somebody who was asking, of course, about your research and research projects that you have and how to ensure that we have clean and safe drinking water. We'll be right back after this break.
Ni mimi. Ulitoa pikipiki? Mulitani sitaomoka. Ni yako. Hii nduti ni yangu. Niliwahi pale Quickbit. Quickbit? Quickbit imekuja kusaidia wananchi kama sisi. Nilinunua 399 shillings. Juu nilikuwa the lowest unique bidder.
399 shillings.
Quickbit shilingi moja unaweza nunua pizza. Shilingi mbili unaweza nunua micro. Shilingi tano unaweza nunua hata gari.
So tupeleke huko hata
mtu haendi huko.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Welcome back and thanks for keeping it Channel 1. This is a news check and today we have been looking at the water utilization, and especially now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic, and also keeping a keen eye on the commissioning of the Moyale one-stop border by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Ethiopian counterpart. Let's get there and listen to the speeches.
Is a clear demonstration of commitment for enhanced trade facilitation on the part of both Ethiopia and Kenya. By aligning the working days and hours, procedures and formalities, as well as through the development and sharing of common facilities and joint controls, the one-stop border post will reduce the time taken and cost incurred to clear goods across both borders, bringing under one roof essential trade services of both countries like revenue and customs authorities, migration, security, trade, agriculture, and health bureaus, plus many other services, demonstrates the capacity for enabling economic integration. Our continued efforts to address unnecessary bottlenecks that impede the capacity for accelerated growth will bear positive results for the region. The completion of the Hawassa-Moyale 500 kilometer asphalt road is also a key infrastructure component that will contribute greatly to regional economic cooperation and integration. It will not only facilitate trade, but also enable investments in various sectors, including tourism. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate and appreciate all that have been involved in the completion of these projects. Launching such a collaboration is a historical moment of utmost significance. Yet, the true success of these projects will be measured by how effectively we collaborate within and across our institutions. It will also be measured by how much we have been able to seamlessly boost trade volumes between Ethiopia and Kenya. In closing, as we celebrate this moment together, I call upon all of us to work towards perfecting our cross-border and institutional collaboration, guided by the spirit of cooperation for mutual growth among brothers. I thank you. Kesumawwan qabnuuf afaan keenyaan baay'ee dubbachaa jirru baga gammaddanii baga ganaan singee itti fufaa misoomni itti fufaa badhaadhinni itti fufaa booranni illee hin guddataa hangafummaan isaanii mul'ata baga gammaddan. Thank you.
And now I call upon His Excellency the President of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, to come to the podium and make his remarks.
Your Excellency and dear brother Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, ministers from both sides, senior government officials, ladies and gentlemen, let me say what a pleasure it is to be together with you again as we continue to strengthen the partnership between our two countries. My brothers, I've always told you, Kenya is your home, and your delegation should therefore feel very much at home, and that is why we're here in Ethiopia. Kenya is right there. There is no difference. Ours is to ensure that our people are able to work together. Your Excellency, today marks yet another important milestone in the warm and cordial brotherly relations that exist between our two nations over the years. We have the same aspirations, and that is to maintain a free and open trade and investment environment between our two countries. Our bilateral relations are growing, and I believe they can even grow much faster with the completion of this project. I am convinced there is still tremendous potential to grow our trade volumes, and my government recognizes the importance of strategic partnerships and the development of joint infrastructure projects which will further cement the close ties between Kenya and Ethiopia. I am confident that the Kenya-Ethiopia partnership is destined to strengthen even more over the coming years. When I visited Ethiopia not so long ago, you made a promise that this road would be complete, and now we are in a position to travel from Addis Ababa to Nairobi, and my next visit to Addis Ababa, I am going to use this road from Nairobi all the way to Addis Ababa. So this iconic one-stop border post that we have just launched today displays yet our concerted efforts and commitment to continue on the path of deepening our bilateral relations, and this border post is a milestone in the modernization of infrastructure in our region, which will go a long way in facilitating trade and investment between our two countries. Indeed, with the completion of this border post, the two countries have demonstrated the political goodwill to address the challenges and impediments facing business communities from both sides. In addition to facilitating trade between our two countries, the border post will also enhance mutual interactions among our people and create synergy as well as unity of purpose. The successful completion of this border post would not have been achieved without the support of various friends, the African Development Bank, the government of the United Kingdom, who partnered with us on this important piece of trade infrastructure, and we are indeed very grateful to all our development partners for their valuable support. I know, as I said earlier, that there is considerable untapped potential for greater trade and investment opportunities, and I therefore urge the business community from both sides to capitalize on this potential, taking advantage of the infrastructure being developed to enhance trade and investment. Your Excellency, as you are aware, the non-tariff barriers remain a big challenge on the economic front, and we need to address it as a matter of urgency. And in this regard, my government is committed to continue working with yours in developing mechanisms towards the elimination of NTBs with a view of making the two countries more competitive and promoting bilateral trade and investment. Finally, Excellency, I wish to take this opportunity to commend our people along the border. These communities have through generations nurtured the relationship between our two countries, and they have continued to coexist as brothers and sisters. What we need, Prime Minister, therefore, is to encourage them to continue working together, maintaining peace and security, for this is the surest way that they can reach the maximum benefit of the excellent relationship between our two nations. Asanteni sana na wenzetu, karibuni Kenya. The last head of state to travel from Nairobi to Addis Ababa by road was my father. I'll be the second. Thank you.
A round of applause for His Excellency, please. One more time. Monday, this is probably why you sing Jambo Bwana. I mean, we have the Kenyan president and the Kenyan delegation here. How come you don't sing that song, you know? So I'll be like, Jambo, Jambo Bwana, habari gani, mizuri sana, wakene, wakene, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata, and Ethiopia yetu, hakuna matata. Oh, all right. Well, maybe we need a bit of drinks to do the song, I guess. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, it's quite an honor to be standing before you this morning to address this crowd and to address both the people of Ethiopia and Kenya by providing them with such an outstanding, eloquent facility that's going to make our lives very. I urge you in the strongest possible terms to keep that brotherhood, to continue to do.
Indeed, hakuna matata after the two leaders have just commissioned the Moyale one-stop border points. The head of state, of course, saying that Kenya and Ethiopia will continue working together. Is a big thing that they have been able to work together, and the bilateral relationship is still growing. The project, the head of state has said, will cement the bond of the two countries, and urging business people or businessmen and businesswomen to ensure that they take full advantage to enhance their trade. And as he has said, is that Kenya and Ethiopia will continue working together, and indeed it will continue. They will continue working together, because after that they will head to Lamu to inspect the Lapset corridor together. The Ethiopian premier talking about the border post boosting the socio-economic development of the two countries, and congratulated all those who made the project a success. Indeed, in case you've just joined us, this is News Check, and we have been looking at the pertinent issue that is in the country: water and sanitation utilization, and especially now that we have the COVID-19 pandemic, we have to keep our hands clean, and Kenya is a water scarce country. Other than that, we are expecting full reopening of schools in the month of January. And Professor Patrick Hayombe has been my guest, and as we wind up, we were talking about research. In 1 minute before we wind up.
Yes, Kenya Water Institute has said there's the mandate of doing research, and one of the areas we do research is hydrogeological survey. We leads with groundwater. Water quality testing is a research area we do. Water resource management, that's catchment conservation, appropriate water technology transfer, drip irrigation, even those transfers, even treatment works, we also do that. We also do environmental impact assessment, especially for water projects before they are implemented. We also do drilling, and during the drilling we collect a lot of data. Like, for example, we partner with other water agencies, like Water Resource Authority, to get the data for that particular concern. And in the same area, we do consultancies in those areas. My parting shot, if I'm not asked, but is tell the youth those who have finished their Form 4 and Standard 8 to join Kenya Water Institute and be practitioners in the water sector. They can be water technicians, plumbers, they can be water resource managers, they can be water consultants and water researchers for sustainable water use.
And of course, we also need to take care of the little water that we have.
Yes, so every water counts, and every water counts, so you must protect that water, you must conserve it. You also have to use it wisely. We also say that wash your hands, and so that we can protect ourselves from COVID-19. Thank you.
Professor, thank you so much for your insight and, of course, for gracing the show. I have been speaking to Professor Patrick Hayombe, who is the CEO of the Kenya Water Institute, and his parting shot is every drop counts. And remember, the COVID-19 is still here with us, so let's keep clean, keep the distance, and let's keep also the faith. Thank you so much for gracing the event, and of course for having us in your house or wherever you are watching us from. My name is Ben Troy Njue. Simon Karudha is the sign language interpreter, and of course Timothy Kipunusu is coming up next with Tamrini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Chanakya had a firm belief that the biggest enemies of Magadha are the one close to it. Hence, I suspect that whatever happened on that ship is surely related to this. There is somebody in the palace who tipped off to the enemies and helped them use this information as a weapon.
Ever since we have met, things are going wrong for me.
You would have been in trouble had I not seen you drowning the other day.
I shall head to Takshashila myself, because if Ashok is indeed alive, his sole motive would be to reach Takshashila.
Yes, but Ashok's death isn't really an accident either.
What do you mean?
Next on
Hakika ya mapenzi ya Mwenyezi Mungu yameambatanishwa na kumpenda Mtume sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Wale ambao wameamini kama wanampenda Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, basi wamfuate Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
on the next episode of
Sweetie.
Huyu namtuma leso ampelekea mke wangu akamwambia ati ni yeye ndo amenunua na wala mke wangu asiniambie. Ni kweli?
Wewe mwanamke niachane. Unasikia wewe? Unikome naambia mume wako. Mwakera. Nikome tena mkome kabisa.